All right, welcome to this episode of the GymInformer podcast. I'm Chris Gilbert, your host for this episode, and today our guest is Doug Miller, the owner of Crush It Coliseum in Mooresville, North Carolina, and the Statesville, North Carolina location that I got a chance to work out at just a few weeks ago. It was an awesome experience. I'm excited to talk to him about it. But before we talk about it, let me show you the photos I took while I was at the gym. All right, Doug, you've got quite a varied background in the supplement industry and some other areas of the fitness world. Can you give us a little bit of an idea of what was your evolution in becoming a gym owner?
I will try to give you the 2-minute overview. So got into natural bodybuilding at a pretty early age, right after high school, when I decided not to pursue sports in college because I was very active. Pretty much got instantly hooked. I'm a science nerd, so I also got really into the supplementation side of things. But I got pretty obsessed with natural bodybuilding. Eventually went on to win 2 drug-free pro world championships in natural bodybuilding in 2009 and 2014. They were called the Yorton Cup. And so that was kind of like the peak of my bodybuilding career. So I am super passionate about the gym. It's, one of those things that is a must in my life. And so I spent countless hours in the gym. It's definitely been a huge part of my life. And so while I was basically coming up in the natural bodybuilding world, I wasn't happy with the supplements that were out there. So this is back in 2004, 2005 time period. So I decided to start my own company called Core Nutritionals. And we started doing things differently: non-prop blends, efficacious doses, basically things that I wanted to take. And kind of just did that as a hobby for a while. And then when I became more successful in the bodybuilding world, that brand took off, and that has kind of led into, quitting my day job at the time. And this is back in 2013. I finally went all in on the supplement side of things. So about 11 years ago. And from there, we've created a number of brands. Right now, we own 5 different brands that are international brands.
Oh, wow.
And we also developed a chain of retail stores because just like the supplement experience in the retail setting, I wasn't happy with what was out there. So we created a chain called the Nutrition Corners. So we have 12 locations in Virginia and 1 in North Carolina. And so the idea is to provide an experience and a education and just a whole level that was different from what other retailers were doing. And so that's also been part of this, passion for the health and fitness industry. And then finally, the gyms, really came around in 2020. So we were located in Northern Virginia, and the whole world shut down. And it was finally time to go all in on I'm just like, you know what, we're just going to create our own gym. So at the time, we took down some racking in our warehouse, and we created about a 2,000 square foot or 1,500 square foot gym. And we stuffed as many pieces of that we could kind of collect on Facebook Marketplace and from around the country really into this spot. And we became obsessed with kind of finding the best pieces, those, the diamonds in the rough that you can restore back to just beautiful pieces. And so we started collecting that. And this is kind of crazy. This is right during COVID. At some point in time, we ended up having 100 pieces in this warehouse stuffed into a 1,500 square foot spot. And then we would run it all the way down the length of the warehouse and then up another row. And so we were it was like a private gym. It was just for our employees, but it was pretty badass. And at that time, we were just collecting as much as we could. And then finally we were coming up to the end of our lease in Northern Virginia, and we decided to move down to North Carolina to be right next to our contract manufacturer. So we bought some land and built this building here. It was an old building that we basically gutted, and we have about 32,000 square feet right now. And we're like, well, let's just carve off a piece and make our gym. So when we first came down here, we took 7,000 square feet and created the official Crush It Coliseum, which at first we weren't going to open it to the public, but we had too many amazing pieces,
Right.
and there was a real demand for it. So we're like, screw it. It doesn't hurt us. We're not really paying rent. It's just like, we can let people in and start, making some money off of this. And so we opened it up, and we didn't zero marketing. Like, we didn't really care if we made money. It was not our primary business. So we just did it as a passion play. And it slowly, through word of mouth, it started to really grow. And then we're like, holy cow, we need more space. So we then busted another 3,000 square feet into it. So we have about 10,000 square feet here. And that area, that is the pit that you saw when you came to work out here. That's 3,000 square feet of just leg equipment. And so at first, we kind of had this mishmash of equipment. We had some brand new, some old, some was refurbished, some wasn't. We kind of took it up. We took the approach of creating a super hardcore gym in the sense of just amazing equipment, an amazing environment, good music, no frills, like, there's no childcare or Zumba classes or anything like that. We don't even have locker rooms. We have shower and bathroom rooms here at Statesville. Mooresville, we have locker rooms. But it was all about the training experience. And so we decided to make it like a high-end gyms in terms of, like, it's very hardcore, but at the same time, it's super clean. That's one of my pet peeves. Like hardcore gyms, just because you have a dirty gym doesn't make it hardcore, right?
Right, 100%.
So we spend a lot of time and effort in cleaning. And then now we don't even put pieces of equipment in our gym unless there are colors, right? So we have a team here that basically can fully strip down our equipment, replace any bearings or any of that stuff we need, send it out for powder coating, bring it back, reassemble it, and then put it in. So everything here is red with like a carbon fiber look to it. And it's created a really cool vibe in our gyms. And then to go with the murals that we have, Jesse from Grizzly Bear Designs is just super talented. So the murals in here are awesome. And then in the Mooresville location, they're on like a whole other level at this point. And so that's just part of the vibe that we've created in the gym. It's a motivating experience. We say it's hardcore, but it's just like, we have beginners in there. It's really for people that really just want to push themselves and want to be surrounded by people that want to push themselves. It's not just like, let's go to the gym and hang on our phone the whole time. We want to create this culture of, it's just like, you don't have to be a professional bodybuilder. Like, now we have professional athletes training in our facility, but you just want the best for yourself, right? And so we have people that are complete newbies to the gym that just want to be in that environment. And so it's really for everyone, as long as they're wanting to create, wanting to be the best version of themselves. They want to live their own Crush It lifestyle. So that's what we've kind of created in this. And, our equipment is really the focus and the highlight. Like, I'm one of those equipment nerds. You've probably interviewed some other, gym owners, like, Leo at DMV Iron's an equipment nerd.
Leo's a huge equipment nerd.
Brandon at RVA Iron, he's an equipment nerd, so like, you're just really knowing what the gems are, right? And so we have pieces, we have like 30 different brands in our gym. So yeah, that's a little bit, that's the quickest overview I could do of how we got to our gyms.
Nice. You kind of answered a bunch of my questions already. But now that we're on equipment, like, you have essentially 10, 11,000 square feet in Statesville.
Yeah.
And you've got some of the best pieces of equipment. You've got some old school stuff. You've got some new school stuff. You've got some Arsenal. You've got some Atlantis.
Yeah.
How did you decide, like, this is the piece that's going on the floor? Because you don't have 30,000 square feet. Like, so, when you have 30,000 square feet, you just put a little bit of everything in there. You guys had to be selective. So,
yeah, I guess, I've been training for 25 plus years now, and I've trained at gyms literally around the world. So I'm pretty versed in, like, and I know what I like. I know the pieces. I know the gyms that I've trained at where those pieces are the gems that you're going to hit every back day or every chest day, right? Like, they're just and a lot of those pieces they don't make anymore. And so through my travels and just through my experience, like, I knew what I wanted. Like, I love old school flex stuff. Like, there's no better old pieces than that. Some of those, right? And so it's just my experience, right? And then whenever we travel or any of our staff travels and they come across a new piece, they'll send me pictures, or we'll go to other, top gyms. Like, Leo at DMV Iron has been really helpful in terms of, like his knowledge on equipment. He was building his gyms right around the same time, that I was building mine. We swapped equipment a couple times, and he was super knowledgeable on those best pieces, and he spares no expense. So it was always nice to let him buy the piece first, and then I go try it and see if it's any good, and then figure that out. But just experience with just a ton of different gyms and just training for so long. Like I pretty much know, right? Like I know the pieces now. And so setting up the second gym, there was like a wish list, and we pretty much nailed it,
Nice.
For the second gym. And, there's a lot of pieces in here. I mean, for 10,000 square feet, we have a container coming from Panada at the moment for both gyms. And I'm kind of not sure exactly where we're going to put everything. I mean, we're pretty jammed. It's not, unfortunately, there's not a lot of room to navigate in some places, but at the end of the day, they're either going to complain that there's not enough equipment, or they're going to complain that there's not enough room between the equipment. So we choose to overstock our place with equipment.
And Panada is so amazing, but at least from Statesville, I'm like, if you had to take pieces out, how would you even decide what pieces to take out? Those pieces were, each piece in there was a gem.
Yeah, I mean, my goal is like I'm almost like a hoarder. Like I don't want to get rid of anything. I just want to add more. So, but we will swap some things. There's some really expensive pieces that we have that after using them, I'm like I could flip this for $7,000 and I don't really like it. So like I could buy 2 or 3 other really nice pieces for that. So like, I trade those things off. So we'll just have to see. We usually figure it out. That's one of our core values, is figuring it out. So we'll figure out where to put the stuff.
Nice. Yeah. I wanted to transition to talking about the atmosphere at Statesville. Like you guys had, like, you've got the old school mixed with the new school vibe. And I really like that. Because I love old school bodybuilding gyms. I love, like you mentioned, Leo. I think Leo does new school better than anyone.
Yeah.
But you guys do a really good job of mixing new school with old school.
Yep.
Like you've got the blacked out walls, you've got the murals, but you've also got kind of an old school vibe. Yeah. So it's a really good mix. Was that on purpose?
No, that's just our vibe. It's kind of like, at the end of the day, we know what the new trends are, but we're not going to bend our likes and dislikes for new trends. Right. So, and some of this is, I'm not a dictator around here. A lot of this is input also from the teams that create the culture that we have and create the environment I have. So, generally, I mean, like you will go to, like our gym will play more like metal, and, there'll be some old school rock. It's mostly like more metal type music. We're not playing like Taylor Swift, or we're not playing like a ton of hip hop. We do play some old school hip hop, but generally for us, it's generally the music that we like to work out to. We'll get some requests sometimes. And, sometimes you'll walk in on a Wednesday morning and we're going to church. We're playing like Christian rock or something like that. So it's just like, we let people dictate what type of music we're going to put in there, at the time. And we like to read the room, so it's just the vibe itself, the black walls and ceiling, and the really good LED lights. That's the first thing we upgraded when we moved to Mooresville. It was an old gym that we took over. That was one of the things, besides new floor and paint and all that. We replaced all the fluorescent lights for LED, because you have a black room with really bright lights. It creates really cool mirror, or shadows for the mirror. So like you get you look in the mirror and you look better, and it's more motivating for people. It's, better lighting, so that's all part of the vibe of the Crush It Coliseum.
Now, you talked about the pit. Like, that was just walking in. That was a crazy experience.
Yeah.
Because you walk into the Statesville gym and you're like, okay, this is a cool gym. Like, you immediately go, okay, this is a cool gym. But then you turn the corner and you go down into the pit.
Yeah.
And it's not like anything that anyone's ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah,
Nobody.
so the pit, for the people who haven't seen it, it's like you're walking into basically a coliseum, right? So there's a gladiator on the wall fighting a lion, and then you see all the stands going out, and then there's some other thing. There's some other gladiators on the wall, and a giant eagle, and American flag, and stuff. And so it's pretty wild. And so we've taken a lot of those same themes and we've put them into Mooresville as well. Mooresville will have a similar thing, but it's not for the leg pit. We just got our permits and we're cutting a hole in our floor and fabricating steel stairs to the basement to create a powerlifting room, because there's a basement under us. So we want to take all the heavy slamming of weights into the basement. So there'll be a powerlifting pit in the Mooresville location where we have some really cool ideas for that mural as well. We're actually going to recreate it's actually called a hypogeum. It's the area that's underneath the Coliseum where they where they keep all the lions and tigers in cages and all that, those other traps and stuff that you would have in these old gladiator battles. So that's what the painting will be underneath in our powerlifting pit, basically in the Mooresville location. But yeah, people always lose it when they walk into the pit. There's always it's fun when I see Matt like touring somebody and they're like, you always have that oh crap moment when they walk in there. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Now, was that your idea? Was that Jesse's idea?
I think it was a combination. So a lot of times I will lay out kind of what I'm thinking. And so the idea was to do the Coliseum like we're in there, but like all the little bells and whistles and the details of that's all Jesse. Like he'll just stare at the wall for a while. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? He's like, I'm just visualizing myself paint. And I'm like, okay, he's like one of those artists, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, a lot of that is, feedback from me and ideas, but then I just let him run with it and he just does his thing.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, he did that. All of that just created such an atmosphere down there. And 3,000 square feet of just legs was pretty awesome.
Yeah. We have, I don't know how many leg presses. We probably have eight or so leg presses, 8 to 10. We have like 8 leg curls. We have probably 8 to 10 squat type machines, hack squats and squat type machines. 3 or 4 leg extensions. There's a ton of stuff in there, we have 5 just traditional hack squats because why not,
Right. So you've got Statesville, you just opened Mooresville.
Yeah.
Are you done? Like, what's next? Is there going to be a third Crush It? Are you guys good where you are?
Just depends on what doors open, right? Like, so like at the Mooresville location, we knew was going to be tremendous. Like we did in terms of membership sales, we did in our first week of being open, which was just about 6 weeks ago. We did what it took us 11 or 12 months to do in Statesville. We did in 1 week in Mooresville. Oh, wow. Now, a lot of that is we were down, like when we first moved here, no one knew who we were. We weren't established in the community, right? So we didn't already have that brand. We had to like build that brand, but now we're a little bit more established. We could kind of promote the opening of it, but also the location, the demographic and the location of Mooresville is way more central to Charlotte. So we were having memberships in Statesville, which is 50 minutes from the Charlotte airport. People are driving an hour to train with us and we'll buy a membership at Statesville. Well, now that opens up a whole lot more easier access for the people that were willing to drive a half an hour, but not an hour. Right. So now being in Mooresville, we're pulling a lot from Charlotte. I would say that if we were going to do another one, it will be South Charlotte. So 30 minutes, 40 minutes south of our Mooresville location would probably be where we would do it. But for us, it's like, it has to be the right move. It has to make sense. There's no, the Mooresville location, we have certain goals we want to hit before we even want to consider doing another location. And I don't want to dilute it, right? I think sometimes people think more is always better, but it doesn't have to be, right? It's just like these gyms are not cheap to open. Like this is a lot. Especially the new Mooresville gym where here it's probably, I don't know. I should figure out the split of brand new equipment versus refurbished equipment, but the new location, over half the equipment is brand new and the other half are those gems that you can't buy new that we have to fully refurbish. So, it's an expensive endeavor. Now the return can be good, right? If you find the right location and the right rent and, you have the right demos there to fill your gym. But, so we'll just have to see. Like, I would definitely not say we're finished. And who knows, right? Like I never turn away an opportunity as long as it's not going to take away from our existing business, as long as it's not going to stress myself or our staff too much to the point of a negative impact. And so generally these type of decisions on whether it's acquiring another brand or bringing on or creating another brand, a lot of those discussions are not made by just myself and my wife. You know, we include the employees to see, like, is this part of our vision, right? Because for me, it's all about getting really good staff in, the right people on the bus, and then letting them help you figure out where to go. And I think we have just an amazing team across all our brands, but also the gym. And so, like, they're going to be very much included in any decisions we make there. Because at the end of the day, like, I'm not the one scrubbing the toilets on a daily basis. I'm not the one, signing up new members. I go there to work out myself and enjoy our facility and do some, overarching type owner things. But it's all the hard work that they put in is what makes the gyms what they are. So it has to align with their goals too.
But you obviously are present because I always speak to people when I go to gyms, and I talk to a couple of different people and they knew who you were. And I always find that when I go to a gym and the members know who the owner is, it's generally a pretty good gym.
Yeah. I mean, and whenever I'm working out at the gym, Matt, who's our general manager across both gyms, he'll get probably 2 or 3 texts from me just about every day of, hey, there's a bolt you need to tighten, and send him a picture. Hey, we happen to run out of paper towels. Hey, this, and I'm sure I annoy him, but it's helpful because I'm there and I have eyes and I see things that other people don't see, right? Like things that people would never catch. I'm generally pretty good at catching them. So he understands those texts are with love, not with, hey, what are you doing? It's just like, hey, this is to make us better.
Yeah, totally. No, that's awesome. Yeah. And I went to a ton of gyms in the Charlotte area, and it seems like there's a decent amount on the east side, but the west side and south side seems like it doesn't really have a bodybuilding like place for people.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, we get a lot of bodybuilders coming from Charlotte to work out. We do a ton of day passes, honestly. I mean, our day pass is really reasonable. It's $15. And we get, like, this past Saturday, we had 23 day passes or something like that.
Wow.
So we're drawing a lot of guests every day, to the gyms.
Nice. So with all of your experience in, around the fitness industry, is there some, and having 2 gyms, is there some advice or a piece of advice or multiple pieces of advice that you would give to someone who's thinking about opening a gym or wants to own a gym?
Yeah. I mean, I would just follow your own vision for the gym and don't try to replicate what somebody else is doing. Like, our gym is completely different from everyone else. Yeah, there's obviously, we look at the good gyms out there, and see what they're doing. But like, we're a completely different vibe and a different creature than everything else. And I think that makes us very authentic, and it can draw and create a really good community. And that's what you need to have the word of mouth spread. You can keep your marketing dollars down. You really got to follow, like, what is your vision for the gym, and don't worry about everything else. I would also say that the model that I saw be successful during COVID is really part of what motivated me to do the Crush It Coliseum, especially the way we're doing it. Is the gyms that were successful are the ones that have very passionate members there and people who are really love that gym. And they're really the more niche type gyms, right? The bodybuilder type gyms, because those are the people that are going to still show up and still pay their membership when everyone else is shut down or, whatever. So we found a lot of the big gyms failed. A lot of the niche gyms succeeded. And you don't have to offer everything to everybody. Right. So and that's the key. You have to find your people, your demo, that, is something that you want to do and that you're passionate about, and then go after those people, right? Like unless you're sitting on $5 million and you want to create this monster gym, right? Where you can have all these different classes and things that may or may not work. Well, first of all, I'm not passionate about any of that. So that would just be a big farce. Right. So I wouldn't do that. But, I think having a more targeted of, like, what is the goal of your gym and what are the services that you provide you don't have to do everything, right? Like, you don't have to have classes. You don't have to have childcare. You don't have to have super fancy marble bathrooms, right? Like,
Right.
how many people are literally going to the gym to hang out in the bathroom? Like, maybe there's that crowd, and maybe there probably is. That's not me, right? But I mean, you got to have a nice, clean facility and great equipment. That's what people are going for. And so, that's the kind of the route that we followed, and it's definitely been successful.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and it's obviously being successful, and that's really good advice. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned bathrooms. A couple of the best gyms I've been to in the country just have a couple of toilets behind doors. Like, that's it.
But they need to be clean.
Yes, they
A
were
disgusting toilet is such a turnoff, right? Like, it's just like, they need to be cleaned every day. Like, I don't understand these gyms that are just disgusting, right? Like, it doesn't have to be that way, right? Like, nobody wants to see that. That doesn't make you hardcore. That just makes you disgusting.
Yeah, exactly. No, I appreciate you coming on, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more great content.